Okay, everybody, how are you? 新年快乐! Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for coming tonight. This is our annual Lunar New Year celebration. We'll have some presentations, some musical performances, some dancing, even some demonstrations, I think, of cooking and things like that. I'm Michael Speaks. I'm Dean of the school, and this is my co-host, Ivan Shen.
Hello. My name is Ivan, and I'm a fourth-year student. I'm so glad to celebrate this with you. And for how many of you, this is your first time attending a celebration, Lunar New Year celebration here? Wow, nearly half. And I'm raising my hand because it is actually my first time to attend a New Year celebration.
Really?
Yes. So we had COVID in first year, and then the year back we didn't have it. But then I went abroad, and so this is my first time celebrating this with you. I'm super excited.
I want to correct you because we did do an online one.
True, and that was.
And you participated in that.
Yes, we edited a very funny video
just
for
to
that.
Be clear, yeah.
And a lot of you are participating in this.
It was filmed here.
Part of it. Okay. Well, just to let you know how important this is to us, for me, I celebrated every New Year's Eve with my family before going to college. And this is a night that everyone get together with family. And now we're with you. So how many of you had the tradition back home to celebrate Spring Festival or Lunar New Year? Wow, almost like 80%, and even not just Asian students. So I'm very glad that you're here because to become our family and to celebrate this night, to become family today and beyond tonight. So talking about my previous year in Florence, so I was with a couple of friends from School of Architecture and went to a nice Chinese restaurant in Florence. And at this time, a lot of students actually are abroad, third-year students. So they prepared a couple of special videos from different sites of study abroad for us, and perhaps we can take a look.
Happy Lunar Year!
We're at Florence.
新年快乐!
Hi, we're in studio. 3, 2, 1. 新年快乐!
Buon anno lunare!
Happy Lunar New Year from London! Happy Lunar New Year from London!
祝大家新年快乐，龙年大吉，恭喜发财。
Happy Lunar New Year from London!
新年快乐 from the Fisher Center.
Happy Lunar New Year!
恭喜发财，红包拿来。
Happy Lunar New Year from Syracuse, New York.
Greetings to everybody and Happy Lunar New Year. Come visit us in New York.
Wow, that was so amazing and entertaining as well. To be in studio for the Lunar New Year's Eve, I guess. And this morning I actually received a lot of messages from friends and family members back in China because it was the midnight for them this morning around 11. So how many of you know your zodiac sign? Everyone knows? Well, yeah, and do we have any dragons here in the room? Ooh, amazing, Victoria actually, and Tianyi, yes, amazing. And I'm looking to also fifth-year students because because for our year, fourth year, we are mostly like snake or horse, which are the next year and the year after next. So perhaps we have more fifth year students who are dragon. But thinking about zodiac signs, everyone knows a little bit about it. We have 12 animals, and they originated from ancient religious and their worship of totems. Actually, research found that in ancient Babylon and ancient Egypt, there are also 12 animal totems, but only because Chinese civilization has been, it hasn't stopped until today, and we have this still today as a tradition. And talking with Year of Dragon, we have our first faculty presentation about dragons and screens in architecture, and I'm super excited. Welcome Xingyu Wang, a part-time instructor, visiting critic here.
Okay, sure. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about dragons and screens, of course, already given. And it's kind of interesting. I don't know how many of you guys have been to the lecture yesterday, because we're also talking about screen space, which I think they're kind of related, but taken from different cultural standpoint. So the reason for talking about dragons, of course, as Ivan already mentioned, the upcoming new year is the Year of Dragon. And also, I think I want to take the topic to the next step and introduce you something architectural, but interesting or unconventional in a way, through studying dragons' voyage or transformation between the two-dimensional and the three-dimensional space. So by dragons, this is not what I mean. So no Harry Potter, no Pokemons either, although those are all the stuff that I like. They kind of accompany my childhood. So this is more in line with what I'm going to talk about. This is a set of statues showing the 12 Chinese zodiac animals. So as you may all know and already mentioned, the dragon is among the traditional Chinese zodiac signs and one of the most mysterious ones. It's mysterious because, okay, it doesn't exist in real life. It is traditionally associated with the emperor and the ruling class. It is a common symbol for authority and power. So it is commonly used in palace architecture for architectural functional details, such as these. So they're called 排水兽, or the English translation would be something like drainage statuette. And their other Chinese name is called 吃手, in which 吃 means one of the children of dragon. So when it rains, the water will get collected and drained away by the dragon's mouth. And the scene is usually termed as 九龙吐水 in Chinese, literally translated as night dragon spitting water. And in addition to that, we will also have like dragon decorations on roofs of palace architecture. So this is a set of measured drawings by Liang Sicheng, one of the famous Chinese architectural historian. And we can see that among 几兽, which literally translated as monsters, on the roof arch, dragons make multiple appearances. So this is maybe a better view of that. So we have 套兽, 吻兽, and 垂兽, which are the larger kind of representations, and they're usually of dragon form. And among the smaller ones that kind of line up, they're on the roof. It is always following a certain kind of order, starting with a deity on a phoenix, followed by a dragon, a phoenix, a lion, etc. And they're all monsters from Chinese myths that have good kind of wishes and meanings and qualities. And also notice that the numbers of the smaller statues that are on the roof are always different from roof to roof. So the number of those statues has something to do with the status and rank of the homeowner in relation to the royal family. So it means the larger the number, the more kind of important your status is. And it also means, okay, you cannot use a random number on your roof, otherwise you will just get into a huge trouble. So in other words, dragon kind of statues in architecture are largely symbols of power. Then for the emperor's palaces, as well as for like temples of honor, we may want to see dragons everywhere. However, the dragon kind of rendered in three-dimensional form takes a lot of space, and it is only kind of used at certain places, as we have already seen. So how to apply the dragon pattern in a much more kind of common or profused way? Then the artisans of ancient China comes in with this solution, meaning they kind of flatten the dragon into those 2.5 dimensional decorations or statue. And I guess most of the second year we all know what it's called. It is called a bas-relief, and it is used for stuff such as the door handles on the left and a ceiling detail on the right. So then that's kind of a 2.5 dimensional decoration got kind of to the inside or interior of architecture and become interior decorations as well. So here we see the dragon throne and the dragon screen that's in the Palace Museum or in the Forbidden City in Beijing, China. And here is one exterior version of that. So it is the Nine Dragon screen that is built outside of one of those palace buildings. And the next step, as you might already kind of guess, as okay, the dragon has become completely flattened, and it has been put in two-dimensional representations on stuff such as paintings as well as tableware. And the effect is that by making it flattened, it is much easier to carry this graphic around and make it easy for dissemination and proliferation of similar graphics to other Asian countries. So that's why we will see, okay, similar depictions of dragon in Japanese wood block printings as well as in Korean paintings. However, what I want to highlight from here is actually not the specific representation of dragons, but the surface medium on which the dragon is being depicted, meaning the surface medium carrying or supporting the two-dimensional depictions of dragons. And for this kind of purpose, I will introduce another Chinese classic, The Story of the Stone, also known as Dream of the Red Chamber, as a novel written by the Qing author Cao Xueqing. And a lot of the plots in the novel unfolds in this garden called the Prospect Garden, which is a Chinese garden constructed by the family of Jia to celebrate the returning home of their daughter Yuanchun for the Lantern Festival, which actually happens on the 15th day of the first month of the lunar calendar and remains an important celebration for the Lunar New Year. So we see that the Lunar New Year is kind of a time of the year for family reunions. However, instead of going into the detailed plots of the novel, I want to kind of get your attention to the architectural setup that is kind of illustrated by those set of drawings done by the painter Sun Wen from the Qing dynasty. So I'll show a few. Okay, so in those illustrations, we'll see there's a common trend of spatial organization using those decorative architectural surfaces. Those surfaces are alternatively known as screens in China, so it's quite different from the movie screens we have seen, or we're kind of accustomed to. They actually are vertical partitions that's movable, and they carry visual motifs on them, such as flowers for prosperity and pine trees for longevity. And sometimes the motifs of dragon can also appear on those screens, such as in this one drawn by the Japanese painter Yoshifuji. And the layered decorative surfaces also producing Uzu's fumes as a predominant spatial organizer. And they provide stage sets for the ordinary living things. So from here, we may kind of see, okay, different from the fixed Western fresco, such as those ones in the Sistine Chapel, Eastern design actually has another logic for arranging decorative surfaces or screens and devising architectural space that's more open and that's in between. Here, the surfaces have been mobilized, and the screens re-spatialize the flattened dragon graphics, rendering them back to the three-dimensional world. So that is kind of my argument. And for Chinese emperor specifically, as you can see here, the dragon screen defines in front of it space for power's display. And the journey that the dragon has undertaken, traveling back and forth between those two-dimensional and three-dimensional worlds, are quite similar to what we're doing here, studying and creating architecture, meaning we make 3D models and we make drawings. It also reminds me of the recent heated debate of the Apple Vision Pro and spatial computing with all those virtual screens. However, I'm not going to give an advertisement to Apple. What I'm going to do is I want to go back to Uzu's film stills. So the Lunar New Year is a time of gatherings, reunions, and celebrations. And we always do those with our dear friends and families, as have already mentioned. And the fact that we have gathered here to celebrate it as a school really make me feel that there is an extended family here. And I hope all of you guys will feel in the same way. And Happy Lunar New Year.
Thank you so much, Xingyu. This is such a fascinating lecture about how surface dragons and their relationship, how it correlates to what we are doing here in the School of Architecture. And looking at the second-year students who are taking architecture theory, which reading does this remind you of? Never mind, Surface Encounters by Juliana Pruno. Okay, it's probably going to be on the quiz, but sorry for reminding you that. But sorry, Xingyu, I mispronounced your name. It's last name, it's Xingyu Chen. Yes, sorry about that. Yes. Talking about the long history of lunar calendar, it actually can be traced back to 14th century BC, which is super early, and it settled around the Han Dynasty, which was around the ancient Greek and Roman, because the calendar before that was changing, although we had the lunar calendar, depending on the generated from seasonal change. And then only until the 20th century, the beginning of 20th century, when the Republic of China was established, the government decided to adopt the Gregorian calendar instead of the lunar calendar. And so that is the length of history of celebrating Lunar New Year is long. And then we celebrate it in all forms of way, for example, dancing. And today we're gonna have a student to perform dancing for us as well. We also have another dance later in the program, but that's a surprise. But the content, I mean, well, never mind. So Chelsea is gonna bring us a traditional dance inspired by the Tang Dynasty, and learn how Asian dance teams perform for the emperor. Actually, in the history of dance, Chinese dance, we have those classical dance that are performed in court, and then those vernacular dance. And there's always something missing in between for the public, because there was no formal performance venue for music and for dance. And the idea of contemporary Chinese, the contemporary notion of classical Chinese dance only starts from the middle of the 20th century. And it kind of combines our vernacular dance, more high culture dance, and Western ballet dancing and martial art, and picking opera movements, which is super exciting. So let's enjoy the performance from Chelsea. Thank you. Thank you. The dance was so beautiful. Yes, and after this body movement, let's come to the topic of food. So we're talking about dumplings, yes. And it's going to be exciting. It's not just about dumplings, but also architecture and construction dumplings. This really reminds me of back home when I was learning making dumplings, we had my brother and other cousins make dumplings and lay it on a table, and the grandparents will look, this one is not good, this one needs some verticality, this one's, I don't know, it's foundation, never mind, like a desk grid. And so Professor Christina John has prepared a very exciting and very playful lecture on the architecture and construction of dumplings. I'm excited. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me to give this talk. When I was invited, I was like, how much architecture should I talk about when we're out, when I'm giving a talk on the New Year's Day? And someone told me, the previous Bogosian fellow here talked about superblock. So I said, I'm gonna make my talk really, really architectural. So I'm serious about architecture when I said that I'm gonna talk about architecture. So I'm gonna walk you guys through this construction drawing set about the construction of dumplings. As you can see in the drawing index, we're gonna talk about the site plan, site analysis, the typologies of dumplings, and the different types of exterior elevations you can find in dumplings as a typology. And we'll also talk about the wall sections and assembly of dumplings, as well as the material physics. And in the end, we'll have go through a DIPS schedule as the end of the construction set. And obviously in every architecture construction drawing, you'll find this important note as a disclaimer that any mistakes that happen in the construction of the dumpling is not my responsibility, and it's your own responsibility to confirm with the contractors, in this case the chefs, to make sure you're building it well. Starting with the history of dumplings, dumplings actually was first discovered or first invented about 2,600 years ago as a medicine in the north of China when the weather is really cold and there were a lot of people catching cold. So this doctor at that time started cooking hot medicine and including like lamb, which was seen as like a cure for a lot of cold diseases, and wrapped them in like hot steamed skin and made them dumplings. And if you haven't seen a 2,000-year-old dumplings, before these dumplings are archaeology items that people found in the tombs from Tang Dynasty. So these are dumplings that are like 2,000 years old. And roughly talking about the typology of dumplings, there are 4 overall categories depending on their style of cooking. You have boiled dumplings, steamed dumplings, fried dumplings, and something I only discovered from research last night, there's roasted dumplings too. In steamed dumplings, the first one you see is the very original one that originated in the north of China. It's called jiaozi. And this is like the most authentic because the original medicine was also sort of wrapped in this way. And wonton usually is discovered in southern China in soup. And also Jamaican boiled dumplings that's usually seen in Jamaica. And among the steamed dumplings, there's a lot of varieties. Momos is a type of dumpling that's usually made in Central Asia and in Tibet especially. And hakgao, which is a Cantonese and Vietnamese shrimp dumpling. And you'll also find kanom jeep, which is a Thai dumpling that's usually on the sweeter side. And there's also a lot of fried dumpling. The first one you see, jianjiao, is usually how it's made on the next morning when you have a lot of leftover dumplings that are starting to fall apart. That's when you fry them and eat them really quickly. And also to hide like the weird taste when you have like meat that's not fresh anymore. speaking from someone who lived in the north of China and had dumplings that we stored like just in the cold weather, and sometimes the meat that just doesn't go well. But there's also the fried dumpling that's really fancy, where like you fry it and you pour this liquid in it, so the bottom of it look like a big flower and snowflake. And there's also gyoza, which is a variation of the original dumpling made in Japan. And mandu, you will find deep fried dumplings in Korea. And the last one is the really weird one. I discovered that people would put dumplings on skewers and roast them as part of, and use like the skewered meat sauce to sprinkle on the dumplings. That's something I would love to try. And talking about the site plan, respectively, each type of dumpling, the typology, you would construct them on different sites, boiled, pan-fried, and in the bamboo steamer, and also the roasted one, you'll roast them on the roasting station. And if you cut through a dumpling, you will find the dumpling wrap. By the way, line weight is really important when you draw plans. And the filling usually, like the judgment, the evaluation for a good dumpling is how well the filling holds in itself. And the really important thing to hold to make sure that your fillings doesn't fall out is to make sure you have this really well seamed central seam. And if you look at this reflected ceiling plan of this dumpling, a reflected ceiling plan is when you put a mirror on the floor and draw what's on the ceiling, basically as if what you would see looking at it reflected on the floor. It's usually a good way to indicate to contractors the alignment of the lights and everything on the ceiling to make sure the lights don't mess up your floor plan. And in this one, obviously you would see the central seam as the really important thing in a dumpling, and you would tell the contractor to make sure the central seam seals really well to make sure the dumpling doesn't fall apart. And the exterior elevations of dumplings are really interesting. There are all kinds of different types. And by the way, in construction documents, I had this argument with Hannibal today. If you put number 1 on the bottom right or the top left corner, usually for me, like when contractors print out large drawings and they would flip the drawings like from the right corner, that's why you put number 1 drawing over here, because that's the first drawing you see. And the first one obviously is the traditional elevation of a dumpling, but there's also goldfish, where the dumpling, when you put them in water and they're like floating around, they look like little goldfish swimming in the water. And there's also the good meaning ones with the golden ingot, symbolizing that you'll make a lot of money in the next year if you eat it, and the real fancy ones that I don't even know how to make. But also there's like the architect's dumpling that you'll see. You can make a perfect triangle, and you can make goldfish, but fancier ones with food coloring. And if you have kids at home, you can teach them to make weird dinosaur inventive dumplings. And the last one is a dragon-shaped dumpling that when I looked at the image, especially after it's boiled, I don't know if I really want to eat it because it's like pink and translucent. And when we talk about the sectional cut of a dumpling, it's really important to see how thick you make the seam and make sure that you seal it really, really well. And in terms of wall sections, wall sections in a set of construction drawing is usually the assembly of the materials. So we'll talk about the assembly of dumpling. Dumpling assembling is usually a streamlined process in a family gathering when you have like a big family gathering around a big table, like 10 people. There's usually like a dough making station, a dough cutting station, a wrap rolling station, a defilling station, and then a dumpling making station. And I was usually stationed as the wrap roller, so I would just be like rolling the wraps for the whole day. It's a really good muscle training workout. The really important thing about the dough is you have to use cold water at first and add warm water to make sure the dough is stretchy, but also like has the shape and the thickness and chewiness. And usually after you rest the dough for like half an hour, you could stretch it out to this really big hoop and cut it out to estimate the shape that you can press down and roll out. And since I was the expert wrap roller, one trick I always tell people is to leave the middle part, as you see here, really, really thick. So when you rotate the wrap and roll it, you never reach the center, so the center part is less rolled than the edge, so the center is thicker. And when you stack up the wraps, because they're really sticky, so you really need to make sure you have flowers in between these wall section elements. And when it comes to filling, you can do all kinds of combinations. Usually there's a meat or a protein. You can do egg or tofu in placement of meat with some veggies and green just to make the color look good too. And one really important thing for me, someone who came from, who's Mongolian Chinese, who came from the north of China, we love cabbages, and we store cabbages everywhere because it's cold outside. So you'll find cabbages everywhere on the street, and it's like a whole construction, a whole scene if you ever go to the north of China, like in the winter. And this is our type of cabbage construction and our type of memes that we find every winter. And if you ever want to build a wall with cabbage, that's my expertise, and I know how to do that. So cabbage is a really important part of the filling. And talking about the material physics, obviously dough is a very finicky material to work with when you use it in construction. The typical way to boil the dumpling is to add water 3 times to let it boil 3 times. And I was really wondering why you can't just write a recipe like the Western recipe where you would specify how many minutes you would leave it in. But the essence of Chinese cooking is everything is in appropriate amount, and you guess what appropriate amount is. But to let it boil 3 times means that the meat will cook through, but instead of letting it boil the whole time without adding cold water would actually protect the skin of the wrap of the dumpling to make sure the wrap doesn't get overboiled and break while the inside the filling cooks. And also, a typical misconception about frying dumpling is that the dumpling would be fried, but actually, you fry the bottom and the rest of the dumpling is steamed. So you would get the bottom crispy and then steam the rest of it. And this really fancy version, you would just add starch water to the bottom of the pot as you pan fry it. So when you flip it, it becomes really beautiful. And to store dumplings, it's really important that they don't touch each other, otherwise they stick to each other and become a really big mess. And to store it in a freezing bag like this, you have to have the dumplings, each of them frozen as an individual before you put them all in a bag, so they don't become a mess. And my speculation is this is how ravioli is invented, because you can't cook dumplings successfully and it becomes a whole mixture in the pot. And in the end, I also want to show this dip schedule. A schedule in architecture drawing is usually a synthesized document to show all the window or door information. Here I'm showing dips. In the north, our dip is usually made up of vinegar base and soy sauce and garlic. But if you don't want to smell bad the next day, you can swap the garlic with chili oil and chili flakes, or as the Cantonese cuisine would do, swap it with ginger and green onion. And one thing that's really special for the northern China practice is we would pickle garlic in vinegar on the 8th day of New Year, so that 20 days later, it would become this really beautiful jade-colored green garlic that has a lot of antioxidant that you can eat with dumplings. And that concludes my construction drawing set of dumplings. And since we're talking about construction, we can't not invite Professor Hannibal Newsome, who is my office mate, who is also the expert of construction. And he has made this really wonderful video of dumpling making.
新春快乐！
All right, well, Spring Festival's been part of my life for 12 years now, so we thought I'd share this video in the spirit of sharing celebration that my wife and I made for our friends and family far away. But I was only allowed to share it with you on the condition that I told you that neither Sinwei, my wife, nor, importantly, her grandmother, approve of the use of the blender. If you're going to make dumplings this New Year, please don't take any shortcuts, stick to the traditional methods, and you're going to have good results. 春节快乐!
Amazing. Thank you, Christina, Professor Newsom, for demonstrating the construction of modular micro-architecture with thin-shell concrete made with flour. And that encourages also quotidian creativity. And I guess now I can say I'm hungry for architecture. Well, but before we leave dumpling, we actually have another dumpling video. This video was produced by Fiona Cao, who is a 5th-year student, and Alex Yichong Cao Max, who is a 2nd-year student, and Assistant Dean Victoria Puccina. Hosted Alex, Josiah John, Calvin Tai Kan Pan, Xingyu Evelyn Li, Yixing Cindy Liu, Pei Kun Patrick Yang, and Fiona at her house to cook a variety of traditional Lunar New Year favorites. Let's watch the video. thank you so much for the video. It takes a lot of some other shortcuts, but mainly traditional, right, Christina? Yes, okay, it passed. And now I'm even more hungry for architecture. Well, yeah, but next is a very exciting performance about music, and it's a traditional Chinese instrument called guzheng. And to give you a sense of how old this instrument is, it was first discovered so historians think that it originated in the Han Dynasty around the ancient Greek and Roman times. And so think lute and lyre, and so guzheng is something contemporary to that. And yes, and sometimes we can perform it with a whole symphony of different kinds of traditional Chinese instrument, but also it can be performed solo, just like the harp, and it has 21 strings, and originally it had 7, but it evolved over the thousands of years of its invention. So yeah, very excited for the performance. Let's welcome Michelle from the class of 2027. I'm just speechless after the performance. It's so breathtakingly beautiful. The narration in those pieces, and there are a lot of very familiar melodies embedded inside the whole performance, but kind of fragmented. And yeah, maybe you can think of Jay Chou's HongchengKezhan. You can think of like it's called the secular hostel of the secular world, and perhaps J.J. Ling's Jiangnan, the south of the river, and reminds you of those little town with streams and stone bridges and wooden boats gently flowing through the streams with lanterns and everything related to that. So beautiful. And next, I actually want to thank the team who prepared for all the students who we actually been planning this since December, and Assistant Dean Victoria who facilitated the whole thing, and also Olivia who put in a lot of work really to make this happen. All the students, and thank you Dean Speaks for your support of this event, making this actually 1 year better and better each year. Yes, and expanding on that, Professor Wang Fei, who is a faculty, everyone knows we have deep engagement with Asian cities, and so Professor Wang Fei spent the past semester traveling through Asia. Throughout his journey, he commemorated the 150th anniversary of the School of Architecture, and this content is shown in the video, and it includes a lot of really amazing exhibitions and a lot of student projects, and shows how rooted we are in the Asian region of the world. Yes, let's appreciate the video and welcome Professor Wang Fei.
Yeah, first of all, this is not all about nothing, and I haven't mentioned, so I'm gonna show a couple of videos you might have seen. I'm sure half of you guys you haven't seen because you were away last year. So in 2022, in the fall semester, we invited very young and amazing kind of documentary filmmaker Deng Wei to be here to conduct a week-long, 10-day film workshop. So in the end, we produced kind of a 3-minute film, 7 films, and all celebrate our 150th anniversary. And then too many, so I will show 2 produced during the workshop, and 1 additional one and on Florence and London. And then the final one will be about the 150th anniversary exhibition in Shanghai in the past fall. And as Michael mentioned, 150 is not a year, it's a spirit. So we are celebrating 150 for 2 years already. So I also going to mention the thing in the marble room, when you go into waiting for your food, also in the backdrop, and there'll be 2 squirrels also donated by our students' parents and Feng family and Liang family, and also celebrate our 150th anniversary from Asian spirit. And also will be 1 more coming, and I'm gonna do a little bit advertising, will be on March 22nd, Friday. A really famous calligrapher master will be here to give a lecture on Chinese calligraphy. And then in the following day, on 23rd, Saturday, will be the whole day calligraphy workshop. So if you're interested, please sign up. And so it will be another kind of amazing long scroll to be shown to the public, and also dedicated to our 150th anniversary. And also I want to thank many our family and alumni. They have contributed a lot just for this event, including a lot of fans, and also the big surprise coming. And also, what else? Oh, lantern from the lantern kind of amazing lantern hometown. So you're gonna see that just in a few minutes later in the atrium. And also I'm gonna show the 4 videos, all relate to 150.
Fuck.
I fucking hate architecture. No. No.
No, I don't. Depends.
I like architecture.
Damn it.
Love. Love.
I like architecture, but there are things that I don't like about it. But there is definitely things that I love. That's why I'm here. I'm not studying architecture just for the degree or something. I like architecture. I like creating stuff. I want to make stuff that can give people feelings. I don't want to like just build stuff for no reason.
You know what? It's hard to put into words. I think that's what it does. It communicates stuff that can't be. We try. I write a lot of stuff, but I love it because it's beyond.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I love architecture.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I like architecture.
Yes, I like architecture.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Second one.
$150 seems like a common number for a group of people at an event.
This identity that we're developing for the 150, where 150 is just basically 3 blocks of information.
Nothing. I don't know what to say.
I guess the number 150 to me means a sense of perseverance that the school had and has had and will continue to have.
我认为150对于我来说是我平常 random share 平常最普通的 DPI。
150是3个数字。
That's my body weight.
150 years to me is a couple lifetimes. It's a really long time and it's great.
150 is 2 things. One, you go up there, it's 6 weights, that's 150 kg.
So you kind of look at it in different units, and it can mean different things, I guess.
There's no single definition of 150.
This is the third one.
documentary is finished.
Yeah.
It's really finished. Stop it. It's finished.
也是挺感动哈，因为前三周，应该大概在
雪城大学建筑学院150周年的特展建筑。
BC 课程的项目叫一点雪城。
目前到了雪城之后呢，
衷心的祝福雪城大学建筑学院150周年的院庆，
来做了一场工作坊，他也是我们雪城的校友。
祝雪城大学建筑学院150周年快乐！耶！
雪城大学建筑学院成立150周年快乐！
雪城建筑150牛！雪城建筑150牛！
New does not mean awesome. It means fucking awesome. Because I cannot tap. It's because we are really new.
Okay, we're getting we're drawing close to the conclusion. This is the penultimate event. We're gonna get a terrific song, which typically is a closing song, but it won't be the closing song because there's one more thing after the closing song. I have to remember the name of the song. It's An Unforgettable Night, sung by Ivan Shen.
So this song people usually sing it at the closing of the Spring Festival Gala. So I think you all know this song if you have watched the Spring Festival Gala. So sing along if you know it.
传来。
last thing for this part of the program, I can't say anything, a lot about it. I already said something about it, but it's gonna be exciting. So please, if anyone's standing there, could you please make a wave, a passage for people to come through. It's something that never happened in this building before. Super excited. And everyone, feel free to go downstairs with the
Okay, everybody, thank you all. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, the entire team. What a brilliant night. We're going to follow the dragon, as we will for the rest of the year, out of the building. Well, not out of the building. Out of the auditorium, downstairs, where there'll be food, paper cutting,